As we know, irrigation is an important topic because almost 60, 70, 80% or more of the freshwater supplies often get used for irrigation. The efficiencies tend to be low, and then there are all these other issues of helping farmers by providing free electricity or solar pumps, and they end up exploiting more of the groundwater, unsustainable use of water, and so on and so forth. So this is a review article looking at advanced irrigation management, integrating technology and sustainability to address global food security. Some nice points, so I'm just going to summarize it. It will be a bit long because I'll read a lot of the text that is important, and I'm still being brief. It's a nice paper you should look up if you are interested in the complete details. So irrigation management is essential for addressing global food security challenges under changing climate. Obviously, this here then review discusses the integration of advanced irrigation technologies and their roles in enhancing water use efficiency and managing energy demands within agricultural systems. So that's where the food, water, energy nexus comes in, but they also add environment because the excess use of water for irrigation also causes other environmental problems. So you have to worry about environmental sustainability and the nexus as well. High efficiency irrigation systems such as drip and sprinkler systems have significant potential to reduce water use and increase crop yields. However, their adoption varies worldwide and the efficiency of existing irrigation practices often remains inadequate, resulting in substantial water losses due to outdated management practices. Emerging technologies and innovative irrigation strategies, including precision agriculture and advanced crop models, provide promising pathways for improving irrigation efficiency. Nonetheless, the widespread integration of these technologies is hindered by high costs, the need for technical expertise, and challenges in adapting existing agricultural systems to new methodologies. So even if there is a good solution, the socio-technical transition to adopting the solution is not always straightforward. Irrigation systems can have substantial energy requirements, particularly those dependent on groundwater, because you are extracting groundwater now from deeper and deeper depths. The exploration of the environment, energy, food, water, environment, energy, food, WEF nexus illustrates the importance of a balanced approach to resource management, which is crucial for achieving sustainable agricultural outcomes. Future research should include lowering barriers to technology adoption, enhancing data utilization for precision irrigation, promoting integrated management strategies within the WEF framework, and strengthening policy support for sustainable practices. This review proposes a multidisciplinary approach to irrigation management that includes technological innovation, strategic policy development, and global cooperation to secure sustainable agricultural practices and ensure global food supply resilience in the face of climate change. Okay. I still have a scratchy throat. In this review, we explore the current state of the global irrigated cropland and various irrigation systems employed in different countries. Next, we delve into potential water savings from more efficient irrigation technology and assess how projected climate change and socioeconomic development could influence the scope of irrigation expansion. Furthermore, we discuss advanced practices for irrigation scheduling and latest technological innovations aiding irrigation management. We also examine energy demands of different irrigation practices and propose an integrated water, environment, energy, food, WEF nexus approach to address the multifaceted challenges facing irrigation management. Through this review, we aim to outline a multidisciplinary research framework that bridges various sectors to enhance the sustainability and efficiency of irrigation management globally. Okay, what is the current status? Obviously, everybody is using lots of water, and long-term data indicate a significant expansion of irrigation in irrigation areas. We'll see that in a minute. Since 1961, global irrigated cropland has increased from 1.6 to 3.4 million kilometers squared in 2018. Despite varying estimates, current irrigated cropland spans approximately 3.1 to 4 million kilometers squared, and of course there are China, India, United States are top users of water for irrigation, and in contrast the remaining countries among the top 10, Russia, Brazil, Indonesia, Nigeria, Argentina, Canada and Ukraine, have relatively smaller proportions of irrigated cropland. So it depends on how the crops are being grown and what the climatology is in terms of availability of water, right? Whenever there is seasonal rainfall and vagaries in the rainfall, as we call it, for the monsoon, farmers tend to rely on irrigation and sometimes over rely on them, and even efficient methods like drip irrigation are shown to actually increase the water use, because unless you subsidize drip irrigation with some limitation on the water use, they might just use the drip irrigation and subsidies to cover more land for irrigation. So the moral hazard is always there. So here we are looking at the global rain-fed and irrigated croplands, ABCDEF, for spatial distribution of the area equipped with irrigation as a percentage of area for India, South Asia, China. So just look at it. So irrigation equipped area, the bread basket and the drier regions tend to be overdoing it, and for whatever reason there are percentage of grid areas lower relatively in some other parts. China obviously focused on the eastern seaboard because a lot of deserts here, and Mongolia is of course a desert. United States has a strange distribution because this is the Mississippi River region and the breadbasket as well, and the West uses too much water, which is actually dry a region climatologically, and yet lots of water gets used because it produces lots of fruits and nuts and so on, that even things like alfalfa and artichokes and so on and so forth. So Europe, North Africa and the Middle East, which is always problematic in terms of, these are deserts and yet people live there and they keep using groundwater for irrigation, and Oceania of course. Okay, so the rain-fed versus irrigated here, then croplands, how they have increased. So Oceania has added here, but you can see the others, and top 10 cropland countries, rain-fed and irrigated. So India is growing in irrigated now because even before the Kharif season or the monsoon season used to be the main food producer. Now more and more Rabi production is happening, which relies a lot on irrigation. US mostly rain-fed, China largely irrigated, Russia, as we said, these are the countries that are very low on irrigated land fraction compared to rain-fed agriculture. By regions here, again the same regions, Asia, America, Europe, Africa and Oceania. So croplands and irrigated, consistent with what we said before. Top 10 countries with the largest irrigated croplands. You have countrywide irrigated croplands. So the top 10 countries by area of irrigated cropland and their contributions to the global total irrigated cropland. Here others. So you have, let's see here, US should be big, China is big, then comes India, and then you have United States, Turkey, Pakistan and so on. And you have to also look at the total rainfall, because Pakistan exports a lot of grains and it's very poor in water resources, so it's essentially using water for irrigation to produce crops, grains for exporting and making money from that, but losing its groundwater in the meantime. So irrigated croplands of course have increased, and China has taken off, India has taken off more recently, United States remains relatively flat, Pakistan has grown as I already mentioned, and changes in percentage of irrigated cropland. This is irrigated cropland in millions of square kilometers over time. This is percentage, so this is total and this is percentage. So you can see that Pakistan in this context has increased its irrigated cropland by 70%, almost 65 to 70%. China dipped during the 80s and 90s and has picked back up. India also has grown over, from less than 20% to now more than 35% or so. The United States has grown as well, and may be related to the climate change issues and the dryness and heating. Remember, the warming together with rainfall redistribution or reductions, etc., can force more irrigation. So different types of irrigation methods here: surface irrigation, sprinklers, and drip. Israel should show up here. So Israel does a lot of drip irrigation. This is where it started, I think, if I remember right. So it does sprinklers and irrigation. Germany does a lot of sprinkler irrigation. It's not a very warm country, so efficiency may be high. If you do in a country like India a lot of irrigation, then you are going to lose a lot of the water because it's a very warm country, and a warm atmosphere is a thirsty atmosphere. And Indonesia does all of its irrigation as surface irrigation, produces lots of rice, and now moving more into other crops as well. So it depends on what crops they are growing and what rainfall regimes are, because Indonesia gets rain throughout the year, even though there is a dip during June, July, August. India gets heavily only during the monsoon time, and so on and so forth. Okay, so all those things matter, and the GDP in India is not dependent a whole lot on agriculture, but employment is mostly dependent on agricultural food related industries. So it's a strange combination of things. Looking at irrigation efficiency in different systems, so you are looking at diverted, non-consumed and consumed. So transpiration losses, beneficial use, non-beneficial use is interception, soil evaporation, and conveyance losses by evaporation. And you have that's in the consumed part of the diverted water. And here you have conveyance losses and drainage and return flow. So this is recoverable return flow of the non-consumed water. Maybe let's read the title carefully because I'm being a little too brief or lazy here. Irrigation efficiency in different system. Irrigation water fluxes. Water withdrawal for irrigation can be classified into beneficial use and non-beneficial use. That's what we are doing here. Recoverable and non-recoverable, beneficial and non-beneficial use, or return flow, re-entering rivers, reservoirs and aquifers, so recoverable and non-recoverable here. So there are various items in them. And in B, we are looking at global means of beneficial and non-beneficial use and return flow across surface, sprinkler and drip irrigations. Okay, so all systems, surface irrigation, so you are looking at beneficial use, non-beneficial use and return flow. Beneficial use, non-beneficial use is even bigger, but there is rest of it is return flow. You can see that in all systems you have 26% beneficial use and almost the same percent as non-beneficial use, and 49% is return flow. So if you look at systems, drip irrigation has a lot of beneficial use. This is why it became so popular and governments started subsidizing it, whereas with a sprinkler you have also increased beneficial use, reduced non-beneficial use and return flow. Surface has a lowest of the beneficial use and almost the same is in non-beneficial use. So here looking at surface, sprinkler and drip again for various crops. I won't go into the details, but temperate cereals, rice, maize, tropical cereals, pulses, temperate roots, tropical roots, sunflower, soybean, groundnut, rapeseed, sugarcane, others and pastures. So essentially you can see that rice, for example, will be here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the surface. You have losses, so you are looking at the scale here being negative in millimeters per day and positive here in millimeters per day, right? So decomposition of beneficial, non-beneficial and return flows for 14 crop types in surface, sprinkler and drip irrigation systems. Note that tropical roots are not irrigated and so on and so forth. Details, but essentially you know that rice flooded irrigation, surface irrigation can result in lot of evaporation losses, very inefficient. But if you do sprinklers, all the negative numbers go down. With drip, they drop even further, and most of the beneficial use happens here then in terms of percentages and so on. Okay, so same story. Irrigation expansion under future climate, there are some projections. I don't know how much we'd want to trust it, but notable areas facing the challenges now include North China Plain, Indo-Gangetic Basin, the breadbasket in general, or the population center, the US High Plains, California Central Valley, which is dry but uses a lot of water for irrigation, and so on. Sensitivity estimates from 10 global hydrological models and 6 global gridded crop models suggest that some currently heavily irrigated regions such as Western and Central Asia, Northern China, North Africa, and the Western United States and Mexico are expected to have no irrigation potential to sustain their practices under warming climate. So essentially they are saying it's going to be impractical to do agriculture with irrigation in some regions, but uncertainties in projections tend to be model related internal variability for first 1 or 2 decades, and then scenario uncertainties dominate. So we have to keep that in mind, and what the decision horizons are and what science and technology tools we will use to plan these things out to, let's say, a decade or two is going to be more critical than to worry about 2100, since it's not clear what we can do about that or who is using that far into information that far into the future for any decision making now or strategizing in any ways. Okay, so there are other regions will have adequate resources to support further irrigation expansion, and climate change is expected to increase irrigation water demand due to rising temperature and increasing evapotranspiration, exacerbating water scarcity, particularly in southern and eastern Asia. Basically, warming is going to increase vapor pressure deficit because warm atmospheres, high saturation, humidity is very high, which means when the stomata is open, there is going to be a lot of losses, so evapotranspiration losses will go up. There are other details like increased soil respiration as well, and warming of the oceans, extremes, rainfall redistributions, and so on. Potential for global irrigation expansion, and you can see here the baseline scenario and 3 degrees C warming in terms of irrigated cropland in millions of square kilometers, and you can see the categories as not suitable. So India has some northwestern region as not suitable, but because of the Middle East and Mediterranean warming, these regions are getting more rainfall but extreme events. Pakistan has flooded every year since 2010, as I keep saying again and again, and there are regions which are suitable for irrigation expansion with small monthly storage. So there is a soft path approach, and it's none of those regions are in India. Irrigation expansion with small monthly storage and 20% deficit irrigation, irrigation expansion with large annual storage. So it's a hard path approach which shows up here and in the Western Ghats, but large regions here of currently irrigated paths are going to stay irrigated, but depends a lot on whether the monsoon recovers, whether monsoon has a real trend or a multi-decadal variability, and so on and so forth. But in general, I'm always nervous about projections because rainfall projections are very hard to do. Advanced irrigation practices for water savings, then ET-based irrigation scheduling, evapotranspiration and soil water balance based method is characterized by its simplicity and low data requirements, making it popular on digital platforms including web-based applications and smartphone apps. You can monitor a few things and then give irrigation advisories and scheduling advisories. So there are web-based applications like Wise and Surgo, NRCS, and so on, but they are using data. Wise web application developed by Colorado State University provides precise irrigation scheduling across Colorado, automated daily weather data from more than 90 weather stations, and detailed sorghum soil profiles were used through NRCS soil data access. So there are details here in terms of why it cannot be used, even though it's easy to implement. The data issues and other logistical issues come up. Second one they discuss is soil sensor-based irrigation scheduling. Sensor-based irrigation scheduling, particularly through the use of soil moisture sensors, is a widely adopted method for improving yield and water use efficiency. So how many soil moistures can you really have? It's good for monitoring soil moisture levels and crop stress, let's say with drones and so on, to schedule irrigation, but having soil moisture is not an easy task. It's expensive. Satellite data are not always available for in near real time, but in India we have done some work to show that this is possible and optimal implementation can be done. Limitation is so what is the limitation? Fixed placement of these sensors often results in frequent calibration errors and an inability to capture variability of soil moisture across the field. This limitation is particularly pronounced under conditions of low evapotranspiration demand, such as during cloudy and humid weather conditions. The soil moisture decorrelation scale is very small. Temperature can be uniform on a large scale, but soil moisture will be very patchy. And if you have a reasonably large tract of land that you're trying to manage for irrigation, then you will need significant number of soil moisture gauges to do this correctly. Okay, especially because you often need soil moisture not only near the surface but down to root depth, and that can be a meter or so. Okay, plant sensor based irrigation scheduling. An alternative method involves plant thermal measurements to directly assess crop water stress. A widely used plant sensor based method for irrigation scheduling is the crop water stress index, which quantifies water stress by measuring the temperature difference between the canopy and the air. So, however, this method before the the application of the CWSI method before full canopy closure can incur significant errors due to the influence of soil. So there are some details. So they are usually used with other irrigation scheduling methods, including soil moisture monitoring for effective real-time scheduling. So it doesn't work that well by itself, but nonetheless it depends on, often on the crops, because vineyards, for example, have a lot of money and they are very eager to maintain the quality of the grapes for the wines, and their rating and everything depends on it, the pricing, etc. So they are much more proactive in instrumenting to manage irrigation effectively. Subsistence farmers obviously cannot do it, so if government wants to provide irrigation advisories, then it has to figure out how to monitor crop stress and soil moisture, right? Crop model based irrigation scheduling. With accurate parameterization and calibration, crop models can facilitate irrigation scheduling by effectively integrating climate data, soil characteristics, crop genetics, and management practices. These models can help in scheduling irrigation and evaluating the impacts of different irrigation strategies on crop yield and economic outcomes. Various models such as the Decision Support System for Agrotechnology Transfer, DSAT, that's the model, CropWatt, and there is also GSAT and Root Water Zone Quality Model have been successfully employed for irrigation scheduling, but running it in near real time, at what resolution, what data is needed, because these models are very intensive in their data needs. Soil properties, crop coefficients, crop root depths, and eco-hydrological model is needed to monitor irrigation water use with other rainfall, evaporation, transpiration loss, and so on and so forth. Okay. What are the barriers and possible adaptation alternatives? First, let's look at irrigation scheduling methods used in the United States. The blue color indicates traditional irrigation scheduling methods, and the yellow color represents science-based irrigation decisions. Note the total value exceed 100% as multiple methods may be employed and so on. So, adoption rate Traditional methods, when neighbors begin to irrigate, just watch what others are doing. Personalized calendar schedule, which may have nothing to do with when it rained. Water delivery organization, so you just do it when water is available. Commercial and government service. Feel of soil, so farmer just does a visual test, and visual crop conditions where they are used to monitoring crop stress. Science-based methods, ET-based, soil sensor-based, plant sensor-based, and crop model used. You can see soil sensor-based is high here, but still only about 15% or so. So we have a long way in terms of transitioning to science-based methods using technologies to manage irrigation. So then advanced irrigation management is important for the sustainable production of crops, which are significantly affected by advancements in technology and decision support systems. A significant portion of irrigation decisions in the United States still relies on traditional methods in blue here, such as visual crop conditions or field soil. In contrast, the adoption of science-based irrigation decisions, including those based on sensors and crop models, remains minimal, contributing only 75% of the total to decision making. Okay, so there's a bit more text on how different countries are doing. Countries like China, India, Pakistan, Iran, Mexico, Indonesia, and Bangladesh together account for over 45% of the world's irrigated land. They face similar challenges to those seen in the US in adopting advanced irrigation scheduling technologies. So just because you developed a technology that worked well in the lab and you may have a test site as well, doesn't mean farmers are going to jump on it. There are always these socio-cultural, socio-economic, socio-technical transition issues. So the barriers in these countries, though, may be even greater due to limited financial resources, insufficient access to necessary technology, lack of infrastructure, and the need for technical expertise. So a lot of these are also smallholder farmers, so they cannot afford technology, even soil moisture sensors, so they just do empirical irrigations. To address such challenges, several adaptation and alternative approaches could facilitate the broader adoption of science-based irrigation scheduling methods. Low-cost technologies efforts should focus on developing affordable sensors, data loggers, and software platforms designed to meet the needs and budgets of farmers in developing countries. But then who does it? Is it the development banks? Is it the government? Is it the government with the help of development banks? Simplified user interfaces, of course, use of technology, co-production is always important. Localized solutions, or location-specific, region-specific, crop-specific, culture-specific methods always work best, which is also co-development. Government and non-governmental organizations always can play a role as extension agents. So NGOs can help equip farmers with the necessary resources and support the adoption and effective use of science-based irrigation scheduling technologies. So energy use for irrigation, as I mentioned, energy can be subsidized in many cases to help farmers as part of increasing farmers' income and so on, or making them resilient against vagaries of rainfall. So looking at the proportion of energy consumption in different agricultural operations, so you have rice, a lot of irrigation. Wheat has mechanization much more than irrigation and seed bed preparation, whereas for maize, fertilizer and chemical applications dominate in terms of percentages of energy use. Soybean has proportional use of irrigation and fertilization, but mechanization is much more here. Okay, so energy use in kilowatt hour per meter cube. So different regions here: surface water, groundwater, and total dynamic head. So you have different water bodies: Sacramento River, Sacramento San Joaquin Delta, San Joaquin, and Tulare Lake. I don't know where that is. We can look it up. So basically you are looking at what they are taking out in terms of surface water and groundwater, and what is the total head that determines the energy use for pumping, right? So energy intensity in kilowatt hour per meter cube. So So this is energy intensity and operating pressure. I won't go into the details. Operating pressure here is in bars, energy intensity. So you can think of that as, water used per meter cube of water pumped or so. Okay. Advances in technology and tools for irrigation management, weather forecasting has helped a lot. Most of us are now downscaling global weather forecasts at different time scales, 1 to 3 days, 3 to 10 days, weeks 2 to 4, and so on, using AI, etc., to bring to farm scale, and then using those with ecohydrological models to model the evolution of soil moisture, crop stress, etc., to advise irrigation. New technologies in irrigation management. Agricultural sector is undergoing transformative changes in the adoption of advanced technologies such as machine learning and satellite-based forecasting. These technologies process information from diverse sources such as weather stations, soil sensors, aerial imagery, offering precise, actionable insights that significantly enhance irrigation management. Okay, so we're combining models, data, AI, and of course farmers' methods to improve their methods and so on. Implications are for water, environment, energy, food nexus. Obviously you have to manage these very well. Water, environment, food, energy nexus is visualized this way. You want to worry about sustainability, worry about external drivers and shocks, and how they affect each one of them. So you want to worry about energy security, water security, and food security with environment in the middle. So you want to worry about air quality, water quality, and land use. So ecosystem, biodiversity, etc. So this is important for life, and water security here and energy security here. So you have sustainability that can rely on technology, social, environment, and economic aspects. Very kind of general points. External drivers and shocks for water and food can come from climate change, agricultural intensification, so trying to grow more food per acre, so use of more irrigation, fertilizers, GMO seeds, etc. Industry and domestic use and water management. And external drivers and shocks here in energy and food security, feedbacks, nexus can occur again to land use and land cover, population growth and demands, and living standards expectations as economies grow and so on. So I'm being brief, but let's read off some conclusions and perspectives, future perspectives. This review systematically explores the complexities of modern irrigation management, considering growing global food security challenges and environmental pressures. Advanced irrigation technologies have become essential for enhancing water use efficiency and alleviating stress on water resources amid climate change. High efficiency irrigation systems such as drip and sprinkler technologies offer effective solutions to the prevalent inefficiencies of traditional irrigation methods. These systems have been demonstrated to significantly reduce water use and improve crop yields. However, the global adoption varies, with notable lags in developing countries like China and India, where financial and infrastructural barriers remain significant in terms of water supply or pumping electricity, and of course because they are small landholders, not industrial scale big land tracts. The review reinforces these findings while highlighting the need for future research and policy support to accelerate adoption in these regions. So irrigation energy nexus is there. There are many good examples of how subsidizing electricity can lead to more pumping of groundwater, deeper and deeper groundwater levels, more and more energy use, and more inefficient irrigation, and reliance on crops which may become more and more unsuitable given the climate change locally and so on. Water guzzling crops like sugarcane or alfalfa in the wrong place, and so on and so forth. So effective navigation of the water, environment, energy, food nexus is essential for comprehensive resource management. This nexus framework facilitates the identification of synergies and trade-offs between different resource users, enabling more informed decision making that supports sustainable agricultural and environmental outcomes. There are other aspects like governance. In the government, there may be Ministry for Water, Agriculture, Energy, all separate, not talking to each other. So who's going to manage the nexus? That's not very easy to figure out. We therefore recommend that future research and efforts focus on lowering barriers to technology adoption by developing policies and incentives that facilitate the adoption of advanced irrigation technologies, especially in developing countries, but incentivizing the adoption may require some additional thoughts. Policymakers should provide financial support and training programs to make these technologies more accessible, enhancing data utilization by leveraging big data and predictive analysis to refine irrigation schedules and improve water management. Well, who's going to do it and who's going to benefit from it? Will poor farmers, subsistence farmers, be helped with these methods? Policymakers can encourage the development of data-driven tools and systems by investing in technology infrastructure or providing subsidies for technology adoption, while practitioners can leverage big data, predictive analytics, and real-time environmental data to optimize irrigation practices. Here, practitioners are not necessarily farmers. It could be water managers, dam operators, and so on. So government can give them the information to better manage water resources and supply for irrigation. Thirdly, promotion of integrated management strategies that align water, energy, and food production with WEF nexus. Policymakers can create frameworks through cross-sector collaboration, while practitioners adopt holistic approaches in their irrigation practices to manage these resource sustainability. Finally, strengthening policy frameworks that prioritize sustainability, focusing on renewable energy and water conservation technologies across the agricultural sector. Policymakers should develop and enforce sustainability-focused policies, whereas practitioners should adopt these practices to increase the resilience and resource efficiency of their agricultural systems. While this review provides a comprehensive overview of current irrigation technologies and practices, there are several limitations. The variability of regional data, differing environmental conditions, and the complexity of integrating energy and water efficiency across various systems suggest that future research should focus on more region-specific studies. Additionally, economic analysis that evaluate the cost-benefit ratios of technology adoption, particularly in developing countries, are crucial for advancing sustainable practices. Addressing the dual challenges of resource scarcity and food security requires a coordinated approach across scientific, technological, and policy domains. The widespread adoption of innovative irrigation solutions requires a collaborative effort that spans multiple disciplines and stakeholders, highlighting a global commitment to sustainable agriculture and resource management. Nice article and lots of informations, but it still needs to include things like nature-based solutions where agroforestry, managed grazing, silvopasture techniques, etc., can combine with these irrigation ideas for science-based irrigation management, so that overall you also reduce resources from agriculture and enhance sinks into the environment, soil, and no-tillage practices and so on, which help reduce carbon emissions as well. Okay, so let's leave this here and come back and discuss the next topic. This is almost 40 minutes, unfortunately long, but I used to do shorter podcasts. Now I have somehow decided to just keep going with longer podcasts on one topic. Okay, hopefully these are helpful still. See you in the next topic.